Hey there, Close Talkers. We had a little bit of an audio malfunction just at the start of this episode, but keep on listening and we fix things partway through. You see this gasket? I have no confidence in this gasket because we watched Season 7, Episode 20, The Bottle Deposit. So, Catherine, how did you like the bottle deposit?
I was bored.
Oh, could I trim some of the fat?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll talk about that. Probably not as much as the calzone. I think there was a lot of really good one-liners in this episode. Maybe not like super memorable one-liners, but like while you're listening to them, you're like, that's funny. But like what was going on? You were kind of like, all right, can we move this along? Like, let's.
Yeah.
So the bottle deposit was written by Greg Cavett and Andy Robin. Some of the previous episodes that they have written that we have watched already. So Greg Cavett worked on The Jimmy and The Hot Tub and The Katy alongside Andy Robin on all three of those. Andy Robin also worked on Junior Mints and The Barber. So I mean, like those are newer than the Junior Mints. Season 5 episode, yeah. Yeah. He cheats on his barber? No. I think that's one of those episodes that feels much older. Like the one where they're stuck on the subway, which is like a season 5 episode as well, I think. It was directed by Andy Ackerman. It aired on May 2nd, 1996. Vulture.com ranked it as the 128th best episode. Screen Crush had it at middling 114 and 115. They treated both part 1 and part 2 as separate episodes. And IMDb ranked it as the 40th best episode with an 8.6 out of 10. Well, it's fan votes, right? Like it's not, yeah. I think you hear the bottle deposit and you think of like the Kramer and Newman, and then you see the logo and you're like, oh yeah, Elaine and those golf clubs. Like there was a myriad of guest stars that had returned, such as Wayne Knight, Richard Hurd, John O'Hurley, and Brenda Strong, Sloane Mischke, Mary Jo Keenan. There were a few notable new guest stars, such as Brad Garrett, who played Tony Abato. He was in Everybody Loves Raymond, Till Death, as well as Single Parents. But he did a lot of voiceover work. And he lended his voice to The Transformers, where he played Trypticon. He was also in things like The Real Ghostbusters, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, Winnie the Pooh. Played Eeyore. Moving on. Peter Kerr played LaForge, the clerk in Payroll. He was in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Frasier, and a TV show called Oh Baby. I originally started looking up what Mary Jo Keenan was in, but thinking that I was looking up Karen Lynn Scott, who is the farmer's daughter, but Mary Jo Keenan played Dina. And then I started looking through pictures and I was like, wow, she's really changed. Anyways, so Karen Lynn Scott was in a few things. I tried to pick the things that most sounded like Troy McClure. So she was in Hardball, The Right Hook, and Dangerous Curves. Oh no, we'll get to that. I was chuckling due to something that did involve Karen Lynn Scott. The other person I thought I'd throw in was Nicholas Melee, who played the detective that was looking for Jerry's car. He was in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Fast Getaway 2, and an episode of Hardcastle and McCormick. So you remember the tag, right? Sorry, not the tag, the final scene. Do you remember the last line of dialogue in this episode? Anyways, the farmer's daughter's cry of goodbye, Norman, goodbye at the end of the episode was not as scripted. Actress Karen Lynn Scott misremembered Newman's name But the Seinfeld team decided the goof made the scene funnier and kept it in. Newman's first name was never revealed during the series. Would you like to hear? So, unfortunately, during that scene as well, Wayne Knight experienced heart palpitations, and he was encouraged by his doctor, to lose weight, and it started him on his fitness journey and encouraged him to kind of slim down and get in better health. So, do you want to talk about this episode?
Yes.
So the first thing that we'll get out of the way, with most episodes, they had a concept and it ran long, and then they thought that instead of trimming it down to 23 minutes, they would pump it up to 44 ish minutes. This one only made it to 41 minutes. And when it originally aired, it aired as a single episode, but then in syndication, they broke it up into a part 1 and part 2. Where do you think the break is? When they first get in the truck? So the scene where they're singing it is after that, I think. Yeah. So it's the point where the mechanic steals the car from and speeds away while Jerry and Elaine are standing there. And then the first scene of episode 2 is Wilhelm coming into George's office and telling him what a great job that he did. So they filmed it originally and then couldn't get it down to 23 minutes. So they added scenes. Would you like a list of the scenes that they added? So they added the downtown thread in the coffee shop. They added Jerry talking to the detective. They added Jerry and Elaine identifying the car in the warehouse. They added Kramer and Newman singing the parody of 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall. They added Newman's dinner with the farmer's daughter, and they added the scene with the insane asylum. And they still couldn't get it to 44 minutes.
Would that be a better episode?
Would it tighten everything up and make it snappier? I think those scenes were the best parts of the episode.
Yeah. We need to cut the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know. Of things to worry about is this, super worry aboutable. So I really like this scene because Wilhelm berates him for not paying attention and then enters a room and continues the conversation without paying attention that George did not follow him into the room. Yeah. I no talking in the washroom. I don't like it. I don't like talking at all. If my feet are standing on a tiled surface, frankly, I don't want to have a conversation with anyone. So this is kind of awkward because my new job is in the same building as my last job, and so I'll sometimes see former coworkers, usually in the communal bathrooms, and they want to talk and just hi, hello, how are you? I don't want to talk to you. Don't I barely want to talk to you outside of the washroom. I definitely don't want to talk to you inside the washroom. Jeff B. Davis, he was when you're at a party and you're how sometimes you get standing next to someone and you're in a terrible conversation and you don't want to just you don't want to leave.
I've just seen an old friend.
Pardon me, I just seen an old friend. You turn around. So what he does is he just turns to the person and he just says, "Hey, look, I'm really sorry, but I gotta go take a giant." That doesn't work when you're already in the washroom. It's my go-to excuse for getting out of conversations I don't want to be in.
Refund. Boop. 5 cents.
What?
Kramer's explaining to Newman about why he shouldn't throw out the bottle. And he goes, refund, boop, taps him on the face with the bottle of Mellow Yellow, 5 cents.
What do you think the hobos were doing?
They're deranged.
How should I know? Good line.
Have you ever had a Mellow Yellow?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I probably tried to find, they don't sell them in Canada, do they?
That I don't know. I think it's only an Eastern U.S. thing now, but they have them in New Zealand and Japan for sure. Because in Japan, the The slogan is smooth taste, smooth times. It has 50 milligrams of caffeine for like a
What?
can, like, you know, like a 355 ml can. That doesn't seem very mellow.
That's funny. I
guess how much sugar?
35 grams of sugar.
Oh, you're way low.
60 grams of sugar?
More.
1,000 grams of sugar.
77 grams of sugar.
I was going to say, like, in my mind, I think I'm conditioned for, like, the Canadian rules of, like, at least, so, like, you know, when we were kids and, like, only things that had, they couldn't add caffeine to drinks. There was, like, some rule.
This is new to me.
So my understanding of it was, as a child, so you know how they have Mountain Dew in Canada doesn't have caffeine in it, and Mountain Dew in the States has
really?
caffeine in it. So I think this has changed.
Okay.
I think the rule used to be that you could add additional caffeine if caffeine was already in the list of ingredients. So something like Coke or Dr. Pepper or root beer or whatever, like, had caffeine already.
From what was in it, all like the other stuff?
Yeah, from the other stuff. So you could add more. But like Sprite and 7-Up and Mountain Dew didn't, so you couldn't add it.
Okay.
I think that has changed, and now...
How does Four Loko factor into all of this?
Well, you can't get Four Loko in Canada, right? It was only in the United States. But I think, like, things changed and they loosened regulations, and now you can get, like, taurine and guanine and superine and 5-hour energy and whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. I think the only time I've had a 5-hour energy was in Vegas.
Mm.
I don't like Red Bull. Do you like Red Bull?
I don't like energy drinks anymore because I'm old. But like when I was young,
I loved a Monster.
Those yellow Monsters. Remember we used to drink those all the time, driving back and forth from Ottawa to Toronto?
Yeah. As long as you didn't have to pee, you didn't have to stop either. It was like, zoom, you're there.
Mm-hmm. If you have 2 5-hour energies, do you get 10-hour energy, or do you get double the amount of energy for 5 hours?
So I was looking up what mellow yellow is, and there's Reddit discussions about it. One person posted, why haven't they discontinued mellow yellow? It can't be that popular. And the first comment was, dude, you've posted about this every day for the last 3 days. You need to get a life. And then in a related conversation, someone said, my grandma used to squirt lemon in her eyes every day.
What?
I've tried it on multiple occasions and it hurts. Is it some old wives' tale or something? Is it really good for you? What's going on?
What?
I think I was looking up lemon squirt, the drink.
Okay.
So this came up. And this is in the optometry subreddit, and everyone is just going, your grandmother was trolling you or was an insane person? Like,
I mean, there's tons of things that, you know, people do that are not good for you that they swear by, like...
She's deranged.
UT and, you know, gargling with bleach and...
What was the first thing? Drink your pee?
UT, yeah.
What's
urine therapy, yeah.
Oh, I was joking. That's really what you meant.
Oh, yeah. There's a big crossover with the flat Earth.
Sure.
COVID vaccines are bad. Urine therapy.
Do you have to let it mellow?
So yes, there's a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, aged urine. Aged urine, that's the tea.
It's the true mellow yellow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see caffeine and citrus as a thing that would be good together.
Well, no, like caffeine is bitter.
Yeah.
Citrus is sour.
Yeah.
Like you
need 77 grams of sugar to overcome this.
You know how much that is?
Yeah.
That's way too much sugar.
And Newman's chugging them.
No, we understand the heart palpitations.
I assume he wasn't really drinking Mellow Yellow, although it was very yellow.
I don't know. Yeah.
Would they go to the trouble of like dyeing just bubbly water, or did he really drink like 3 Mellow Yellows in a row when Kramer was forcing him to?
And they had like, that was a glass bottle with like a serious top. So I don't know. Maybe it was real. Maybe just.
Have you ever been to a live auction?
I've been to silent auctions.
Yeah.
Which are, I mean, very different and more boring than that. Oh, I have been to a live auction. Yeah. I've been to like a livestock auction.
Were you buying a cow?
I wasn't, no.
Were you selling a cow?
I was a child.
Why'd you go?
It was the farm. There was go there and people were buying cows.
This is the farm where you worked / stayed in the summers? Okay.
Yeah.
I've not been to a live auction, but 80s movies and television led me to believe it would be a regular part of my social life. So this is an unrelated question, but if you're traveling, I'm going to say in Canada or the US, and you go to a diner / cafe monk style restaurant and the menu is like 10 pages long, what are you going for? What are you going to order?
Like, what's my go-to dish at like a diner like that?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe something like a club sandwich?
Yeah. I don't think you could go wrong with a club sandwich.
Yeah.
I was going to say fish and chips.
Meh.
Burger.
Yeah.
Like, you're not ordering the lobster bisque.
No. Clams Casino. Chef recommends. Where were we? What were we talking about?
So I was going to bring up when Jerry goes to talk to the mechanic about his car. And he confronts him with the radiator caps and the whatever it is. He gives him hell for putting low-grade oil in the car. He's like, are you taking it to one of those, like, lube shops? I follow a good Instagram account of this, like, mechanic shop in LA. And their advice is, doesn't matter what oil you put in it, just change it often.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
change it when you're supposed to. It doesn't really matter what it is. So, that guy's wrong.
So I remembered that the clubs ended up in the car. How come Elaine doesn't take the clubs, like,
with her when Jerry drops her
She
off?
goes to an auction. You spend $20,000 on these clubs, and then you're like, I'll get them from you later.
Yeah. She's giving him hell for leaving them in the car. She left them in the car.
Yeah.
She knows Jerry. She knows the goons who borrow his car sometimes.
Like, Jerry immediately cannot drive away and has to call AAA.
Yeah.
Like,
why wouldn't he go?
Why wouldn't he?
Hang
hey,
on.
Elaine.
Before you tow my car away, let me just run up.
Well, wouldn't Elaine be like if you were at a friend's house and
wasn't even in the door yet?
Hey, I'm going to leave, and then you're having problems with your car. Do you never talk to that friend? Or like while you're there, you're like,
well, I can't bother
hey,
her now.
AAA, like,
yeah,
holes.
Totally.
Another hole. Jerry says that he almost sucked a muffin down the carburetor. Saab 9000s are fuel injected and don't have carburetors.
What about the turbo?
Also fuel injected, doesn't have a carburetor.
I wrote down Jay Peterman looks like an old baby.
Why do you say that?
Because his face is younger than his hair would suggest. He's got a very smooth face and very, like, cherubic features. He's very, like, bright-eyed and excited about his toys. Maybe he got work done.
I don't know. Well, I mean, by now, probably yes. But at that time, he was probably just young and had gray hair, so...
How old do you think he was?
That's a good question. Is he a silver fox? Does just having gray hair qualify you as a silver fox?
Oh, no.
No?
Not just gray hair. There are other qualities.
But like a young person, like
I I think you also have to be good looking, which he is, but he's not a bad looking person, but like just having great hair isn't enough. I don't know. I wouldn't call him like a hunk. Heavy air quotes. To qualify for Silver Fox status. Nobody's like, ooh, J. Peterman.
J. Crew.
John O'Hurley?
John O'Hurley.
That's an old man name.
Some Irish farmer with a big head.
So the next two things I wrote are Jimmy crack corn and then, oh no, because Wilhelm is suffering from early dementia or Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah.
And we laugh and laugh and laugh.
What would you have done in George's situation?
I don't think I would have been honest, but I would have brought it up sooner. Like I would have, like I don't think I would have got to the point of going to Jerry's and talking about it. I would have gone to my desk and gone right back and be like, okay, I really want to get started on this, but like, let's go over just the bullet points. Like, where do you want me to hit first on this project? And then...
You gotta go to payroll.
Oh, no. Oh, also, if I went to payroll, which George did, and the guy called Wilhelm, I would have leveled with that guy and been like, I have to confess, I don't know what he's talking about. What do you want? What do you need from me? Like help me out, and I'll owe you. And I'll help you out.
Right. I was in like my situation here. What I probably would have done is like gotten one of my peers to be like, "Hey, when you're talking to boss, be like, oh yeah, Derek said he was working on some project for you. Like, what's up with that? And we're like, what's going on? Or,
send in a what are they called in magic tricks? A
magician,
a compatriot,
card,
a plant. You send in a plant.
Send in a plant, yeah. But I think like it really identifies how George is like isolated at work, doesn't have any coworkers.
So Jerry gets the call. He better come down and see. And he brings Elaine with him, and they meet the detective. And she goes, oh, we used to date, but now we're just friends. I think we both laughed out loud.
I liked this scene. I had kind of forgotten about, like I once I saw like the thing with the car, I was like, oh yeah, the car. And like, I put together the whole episode, because I had remembered obviously, Kramer and Newman doing the model deposit stuff, and the golf clubs ruining it and everything. But I'd totally forgotten about this whole like detective and then this scene. I really liked it for an odd reason. Like it reminded me of like a gritty crime thing.
Sure, yeah.
It was kind of like out of place, but like fun in a good way.
Yeah. Turbo was ripped right out, jammed up the tailpipe.
Turbo? I didn't have a turbo.
Did you say 9,000 turbo? I'm surprised Jerry didn't hit on that woman.
That would have been pretty despicable, Jerry. So what do you think about this whole scheme that Kramer and Newman cooked up?
I agree with Kramer at the beginning, and that is not worth their investment to get the bottles deposited in Michigan for an extra 5 cents each.
Would you like to know a little bit more about returning bottles in Michigan?
Yes.
So Michigan law prohibits the return of bottles from out of state.
How would they know?
In addition, any bottle that was return made cannot be in excess of $25. So if they had a total of 1,000 bottles to return, it would take them 40 individual trips to the store to return all of those bottles.
So tell us about the bottle return or can return or whatever it was at Loblaws.
No, and I already told the story on the podcast already.
But this is the episode. You got to recap.
So our local grocery store, in an effort to, I guess, promote recycling, or I don't know what the motivation was behind it, but in the store at kind of like the end of the aisles, like after you go through checkout, there's kind of like machines there, like coin sorting machines, but they had installed a machine where you would put in, an aluminum can, and it would crunch it, and then it would give you, it was like a prize, but like
a Chuck E. Cheese token,
kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese token. I can't remember what like the default prize was, like if it was like money or what, or if it like sometimes it was nothing. Don't remember a lot of the details, but it was like 1 out of 5,000 times. I think you probably got like 5 cents a can.
Okay.
And then like 1 out of 5,000 times you got like $10 a can.
Okay, I thought it was you get nothing, and then 1 out of 5,000 times you'll get like $1.
I think we were doing it as a money making scheme. Now you're gonna ask yourself, Derek just said what we were doing. What was he doing? Here's what he was doing. Derek and his friends would go around on the morning of
garbage
pickup before the garbage truck had come throughout the neighborhood and collect in garbage bags all of the aluminum cans that all of their neighbors had put out for pickup.
Mm-hmm.
We then filled several shopping carts full of these cans, brought them to the supermarket, and started to
return them. I don't see a problem here. You're recycling. You're passionate about recycling.
We collected so many cans, we filled one of our friends' garages. There was probably about like 6 to 12 garbage bags full of cans.
Were you just dragging them around? Did you have a wagon? How'd you do this?
We used our bikes, and so like each of us could carry like 2
like a true bum.
And then when we got to the supermarket, we would like throw a bag into a shopping cart. So I think everything came to a head when the manager of the supermarket threw us out because we had blocked off the checkouts with all of our shopping carts full of cans.
So really, it wasn't that you were returning too many cans or abusing the system. You just were a teenage boy taking up space and not thinking about other people.
I was probably about 10 at the time.
There you go. Even more so.
So the funniest part is there was 3 of us that were doing this. One guy was grounded for a week. My parents basically just told me like, don't do this anymore. And the other kid, his parents were like, oh my God, you're a genius. This is a great idea.
Yeah. What's he doing now?
I don't know. We lost touch.
Can anyone just ride in a mail truck? I feel like that's not allowed.
Kramer essentially has stolen federal property at this point, right?
But even before, Newman somehow gets the job of driving this truck.
Wouldn't let him drive, that's for sure.
No. But if I was friends with a mail carrier and I was like, hey, you're going past the mall, can I hop in? They would say no. Because I could just reach behind me and steal mail, I guess.
You're not supposed to be in there. It's yeah.
Only adorable dogs are allowed.
So just to go back to my life of bottle collecting, it's maybe a good thing that we got caught and stopped when you did, because in 2007, a 15-person operation was busted for illegally smuggling millions of beverage containers from other states and cashing them for deposit in Michigan. Police found over $500,000 in cash. But unlike Kramer's scheme, instead of returning the cans themselves, they would sell them to merchants at a discount, and then the merchants would redeem it for full value.
So, I think in Quebec you get 10 cents a can. And here you get 5.
I think that's only for...
It's only beer.
Cans you've bought at a liquor outlet, liquor store,
liquor
depot, beer store, whatever. What's the encompassing term for all of those things?
Well, like, we're drinking bubbly water. It just says recyclable on the top.
Yeah.
But cans of alcohol, I think they say 10 cents in Quebec.
But that's built into the price. So when you buy it,
sure,
10 cents.
But if you go around collecting them and you didn't buy all those cans, it's pure profit.
You want to get a mail truck together?
Like, the guys in our neighborhood are not going across the bridge. But I have seen people driving through the neighborhood in a minivan, stopping in front of our garbage. The door slides out like someone's going to get snatched off the street. But instead, they're rifling through the recycling, throwing it in the minivan and driving on. So they're probably going across.
Well, so there's two tiers in my mind of these garbage pickers. There's kind of the guys that are just going through and getting the cans and returning them to the beer store. But then there's also people that are looking through what you're throwing away.
To steal your identity?
Only if you're a spy. And they're collecting like metal and things that you can take to the recycling depot. And you can get, like, if you have, scrap aluminum or scrap steel or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can sell that at a recycling depot. I don't know if you remember our
bronze table thing?
Well, our bronze table, but also I did that with our cast iron table.
You just hauled it. No, you took it to the dump.
I took it to a recycling depot and they paid me for that.
We were supposed to take it apart and we didn't because we didn't know. Because the screws were made of a different metal than the table, but they were nice and just took it.
Yeah.
Because a moving company broke our table.
Bastards.
Did we break the table the second time?
Nature broke the table the second time.
With snow?
Yes.
Bastards. Jerry doesn't know his license plate number. He has to look it up.
What happens to Jerry's car?
I guess it's gone.
They just didn't write an ending? They wrote a whole episode, and they were like, we need more.
We needed 3 minutes more. We couldn't think of what to do with Jerry's car at the end. We're just like, Kramer and Newman run off into the bushes. The end. I didn't realize JFK had such a temper.
The only thing worse was his slice.
Ugh. I wrote down random things like blurry Elaine.
Oh yeah, why was she blurry at that point?
Jerry wasn't.
It was weird.
There was the 4K edit in Jerry's apartment. The camera on him was fine, and then it turned to her, and it was like Vaseline City.
The fridge was in focus.
I wrote down midnight pie stand, jazzy, goofy music. What the hell is happening on this farm?
What is the deal with Seinfeld and mutton? I'm fairly certain up until Seinfeld, I had never heard of mutton. I've never had mutton.
Oh, I have. I maintain that the Ontario food landscape is ready for mutton to become a big thing.
Is mutton halal?
I think halal is the way in which it's butchered, isn't it?
That's one thing, but like you can't have, like, pigs are not halal, right? Regardless of how they are butchered.
Okay. Not sure. You can have goats, though.
Yeah.
Sheep are kind of like goats.
But sheep are not goats.
Sheep are just the female goats.
I was about to say, usually religious people are, very adamant about, what is and is not allowed. But then, like, in the Bible, it's like, a bat is a bird.
The obvious body double driving the mail truck with the Kramer wig on. I thought when Jerry and Elaine are both on the phone in his apartment and they're trying to tell Kramer, like, go after the car, get the clubs. I would have really liked to have Elaine reach over and hang up Jerry's extension and keep yelling at Kramer and have them like wrestle over the phone.
So this is the first time that a cell phone is shown in Seinfeld.
I was going to say, like, we know that Jerry has a car phone since the beginning, but Kramer's got a cell phone?
This magnifying glass in my hand, I feel like a scientist.
I did laugh out loud. when Larry David said that.
So unfortunately, this is the last time that Larry David will voice George Steinbrenner while he's a part of the show.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me George is fired and then Steinbrenner's not on there anymore.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
It's almost like he can't get fired.
So next week, we've got the Wait Out. Do you remember what it's about?
Jerry and Elaine are waiting out a couple to break up, and George helps them.
So it's been a while, I think, since you asked me if I knew of any of these episodes or references.
Mm.
And I thought by now, like with the Soup Nazi, everything would be getting familiar just from like pop culture references. I don't know any of this stuff. I've never heard of the bottle deposit, the calzone, nothing.
I'm glad it's all new for you. Do you think if you had, you would still remember?
If I'd watched it in my youth, yes, because I remember every word of every Simpsons episode. That's up till season 12, 15? 12.
So you're saying your memory's only gotten worse in your advanced age?
That's what happens.
Do you have any corrections or omissions?
Did you know that Winnipeg, Manitoba is the Canadian hub for Panzerotti production? Winnipeg.
What do you mean by hub?
The hub.
Like, most Panzerottis in the country are made in Winnipeg, Manitoba?
Nailway Foods has been dubbed the second largest processor of pierogies and Panzerotti in Canada.
Interesting.
So I'm guessing this is frozen Panzerotti?
Yeah, I would guess so. Now, is a pierogi a turnover?
I guess so.
I don't like this.
Is a dumpling a turnover?
I don't like this.
Okay. Whatever her name was in the last episode.
Elaine?
Jerry's girlfriend was credited as on IMDb as both Dylan Taze and Danette Taze. And I guessed that Danette was her real name because it's stupider, and I was right.
Yeah.
So we were talking about hair color and eye color because Danette Taze is blonde with brown eyes. So I looked up some data on this. And a study I read was done in Europe broadly, surveying hair and eye color. But I think the researchers were from Germany and their data set was predominantly with blonde hair and blue eyes. I wonder why. ChatGPT says 0.22% of the world has blonde hair and brown eyes. Which is not very much, but it is 17 million people. So like a city the size of Sao Paulo, Brazil.
That's a big city.
Blue-eyed redheads are the absolute rarest with 0.17% or 13 million people worldwide. Or a city the size of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Why are all of your localizations Brazil?
Because I was looking up city populations to give some context, and the only ones that match those two exactly were in Brazil. Until I had, well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember to like and subscribe.
Why do you do this? Goodbye.
Recently, there may have been changes to your podcast app where it wouldn't be downloading the latest episode. Make sure you go in and check your settings.
Did I tell you we got an email saying Google Podcast is now serving Close Talkers? Google Podcast is going away. And I'm getting automated emails saying, good news, you're on Google Podcasts.
Well, once we made it on, they were like, we better shut this thing down.
Okay, bye-bye.
Believe it or not, this is our podcast. Please subscribe at the end. If you subscribed, we would be happy. Please subscribe to us. Believe it or not, it's our podcast.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?